Narcissists will do this at the end of every relationship. And it's really, really predictable. And I've seen this so many times as an attorney. I've seen this as a consultant. I've seen this in helping people through many different situations. Plus, I've been through this myself. So I can just tell you that they're difficult to deal with, but they're very simple to understand and it's simple to handle. And so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through what they do, and I'm also going to walk you through what to do to handle this situation. So, this is in a personal situation, a professional situation, no matter who you are, no matter what it is, this is what you do. So, and I've written many books on this, I've written many blogs on this. I've helped thousands of people around the world through my programs. Believe me when I tell you, it's very predictable. When you understand the psyche of how to deal with them, it's actually very simple. Okay, so I wrote the book Slay the Bully, How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win. And if you haven't subscribed here, go ahead and subscribe because I want you to feel empowered in this situation. Okay. Whether you're doing the discarding or they're doing the discarding, it really doesn't matter. Once you're at the end of the relationship, they feel like you become public enemy number one because they want to make sure that they can take you down before you can take them down. That's because they feel like this loss of control, and now you're no longer in their purview, you're no longer in their kingdom, you're no longer in this world where they were controlling the narrative. So the first thing they're going to do is that's where you start to see the birth of the smear campaign. They're going to run around and try to smear you. They're going to go to as many people as possible and try to make you look as bad as possible, no matter who they are. I mean, no matter what the situation was, they're going to maybe try to tell you they want it to be amicable. And they might even say that to your face for as long as possible. And the reason why they say that to your face for as long as possible is because they're trying to manipulate you into doing something, whether it's making you think that there's going to be some sort of a relationship for whatever reason. Maybe they want you to sign something. Maybe they want you to not talk bad about them to somebody behind your back. I promise you, they're saying something about you. They were lying to you and they were being manipulative to you, or they were being emotionally abusive or mentally abusive to you during the relationship. It's not going to be better during the breakup or after the relationship. It doesn't happen that way. The first thing you need to understand is do not give away whatever leverage you have by thinking, oh, I'm going to garner favor with them and they're going to see how good I'm being. They're going to see how nice I'm being. They're going to see how kind I'm being. And now that's going to somehow curry favor with them. And they're going to, I'm storing up some kind of kindness or grace with them by doing that. They don't remember that. They just feel a sense of entitlement around it. And they go, well, that was mine anyway. Or that's what should have happened. At the end of the day, you won't get any fairness or equity out of that. Just know that that's how that's going to go. At the end, just don't give in. Make sure that you not think that there's not going to be any kind of smearing going on behind your back, because there will be. They're going to be smearing you as fast as possible, and you will become public enemy number one, no matter what it is that they're saying to your face. I was shocked. I can tell you, with the covert narcissist person that I was in relationship with, a professional situation, the mask came right off. The person that ended up to be the person that I thought was, at least going to be somewhat cordial and kind was not there at all. You want to make sure that you're prepared for that, because the blame shifting that is going to come, the manipulation that is going to come, the projection and deflection that is going to come is going to be a bit shocking. And they may even try to sabotage you. They're going to try to sabotage your reputation, maybe try to sabotage your success, try to tarnish your image tarnish your career advancement if possible, undermine your achievements, seek to intervene if possible, do whatever they can to maintain their own power, maintain their own influence. If it's a work situation, they might steal credit for your work. If it's in friendships, they might withdraw. There might be passive aggressive situations where they're nice to your face and they might like drop little hints. I'm just concerned about Andrew and his efforts lately or his drinking. I am just concerned about, whether or not he's showing up at class or something like that. They might start canceling plans, little kind of passive aggressive types of things, which kind of start to make you feel like, there's something wrong with you. You're questioning your own value, questioning your own feelings within the friendship. That's the kind of thing that they start to do. And I'd love to know what kind of things that you guys have seen at the end of relationships. What you need to do is move on and don't look back. And that's what I want you to put in the comments. Don't look back. Don't look back. You're not going that way. Just know that it's all about their own fragile little egos. It's all about them feeling jealous. It's all about them feeling insecure. It's about their own ego. You can't take it personally. I know it's really hard and you want to defend yourself. I always say I always wear jade because I'm half Chinese, but never justify, argue, defend, or explain. The more you try to defend yourself, the more you try to stick up for yourself or whatever, it just makes you look guilty. It makes you play into them. It gives them credence. The cream always rises to the top, but don't do that. And just change your logins, change your passwords, block their minions on social media. Don't play into the game that they're playing because that continues to give them narcissistic supply. Understand that the motivations underneath all of that has to do with their own sense of needing to feed the beast of their sense of emptiness and shame and pain inside. They're desperately trying to grasp onto you to maintain their sense of supply. So they're going to gaslight you. They're going to up their efforts. They might try to turn on the heat, but you've got to stand strong. You've got to have a boundary that you put around you, that invisible boundary, that invisible shield down around you, and start seeing them as if they're a toddler having a tantrum on the floor and start using phrases like you're looking at them having a tantrum on the floor and start looking at them as if they are almost like you're observing a third party. I can see that you are upset. We can have a conversation at another time. This approach is not working for me. Thank you for the feedback. Something like that. Observe, don't absorb. Respond, don't react. Whatever situation it is, whether it's your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your boss, whoever it is, you are always entitled to respect. Whatever situation you are in, the patterns can empower you to reclaim your power and navigate you to the end of the relationship on your own terms. And you can set boundaries and prioritize your own well-being and seek support from trusted allies. You can emerge from this stronger and more resilient than even ever before. Okay, so let's talk about the 6 things narcissists do at the end of a relationship. Well, remember, there are 3 phases to a narcissistic relationship. It is the love bombing, the devaluing, and the discarding. And remember, they kind of go back and forth between all 3. I definitely have videos on all 3 phases of the narcissistic relationship, which you can check out if you'd like. But in the end of the relationship is when they really, turn it on. That's when they start the smear campaign. And really, the smear campaign can start like if they feel like it's happening, they'll start sort of seeding it along the way. In other words, like they might say something, 6 months before the relationship ended to a neighbor, like, oh, so and so drank too much last night, and I'm so concerned about him or her. And then when the relationship does collapse, they'll be able to say, Oh, so and so is an alcoholic. Remember, I told you I was so concerned about that? So you see how they kind of plant these seeds along the way for the smear campaign. They're pretty good at that sort of thing. So even if they start to see that coming down the road, that they will start to, that smear campaign early on. Because remember, with narcissists, they live in a world that's very black and white. So it's very much, a world of winners and losers. And I got all the friends and you didn't. And I got all the money and you got none of it. And the kids love me and they don't love you. It's got to be all or nothing with them. And so they want to set it up that they look good and you look bad. So, number one is they immediately start lining up their flying monkeys. That's part of their smear campaign. So, right away, they've got to have these people that they feel like they can go to start saying, they're the victim, that they might even say that you were the narcissist, that you wronged them in some way, that somehow that they should line themselves up with them and against you. So that's number one. They will start lining up their flying monkeys. They will start in on their smear campaign. They will start getting third parties involved to try to make you feel isolated, to try to make you feel like the world is against you, that everyone is believing their lies. That's number one. Number two is the money grab. A lot of times you will see them either cut off credit cards if they're the moneyed spouse and you're not. They might actually go in and take money out of an account. They might start moving money, hiding money, draining accounts, changing ownership, maybe signing ownership over to other people, that sort of thing. And a lot of that can be accounted for, brought back into the marital estate, accounted for in the sense that, okay, that person already received that value. So therefore, the other person is going to receive equal value from a different asset. So sometimes it's not like the worst thing in the world that it happened, but they don't realize that. So they go in and they do these sorts of things. Usually, if they do that sort of thing, it really reflects poorly on them. The judges don't like that. They don't like to see that kind of behavior early on. So it can end up working against them. But that is something that you sometimes see them do. So number two is the money grab. Number three is making you the scapegoat, making sure that everything gets blamed on you. You were the reason why it all went to hell, that the relationship failed, that maybe that you have no money, that you have to sell the house, that whatever it is, the business is in the tank. The whole reason the whole thing went to hell is because of you. And if this all sounds familiar so far, give me an amen in the comments, because I bet you guys have seen all of this so far. All right, so that's number three. Number four is kind of takes you by surprise sometimes, but it's like last minute love bombing. What? Yeah, I know. Like, okay, all of a sudden they're back in your face, oh, remember how good we had it, or, we could always get along, or they'll do anything to save the relationship. They will go to counseling, when they said, oh, I'll never go to a shrink, that'll never happen. Oh, now all of a sudden they're being super nice and they're doing all the things that you wanted them to do in the first place. Last minute hustling to try to do things that they should have been doing all along, or major future faking. I'll change. Everything's going to be different from here on out. And by the way, I have a whole video on future faking if you want to check that out. But, that's another thing that they will do. So that's number four is last minute love bombing. Number five is the guilt trip. They're going to try to guilt trip you. Oh, how are you doing this to them at this time? oh, I did so much for you, or why are you doing this to me now when I'm sick, or that this all this stuff is happening to me at work or in my business, or my parents are sick, or whatever it is, like this is just not a good time. Or you're breaking up the family, or if it's a business relationship, oh, you had a great thing going and you're just about to hit pay dirt. It's just about to pop. It's just about to explode. And why are you doing this now? So ungrateful for all the things that they've done, things like that. So, the guilt trip. Coverts are they love the guilt trip. Coverts love guilt trips. They love gaslighting. They love passive aggressive moves. They're such cowards, such cowards. But, that's one of the things that they love as well, is to guilt trip you. All right. That's number 5. And you ready for number 6? This is the last one. And again, not an all-encompassing list, but a lot of the things that you can expect from them when the relationship goes south. That it's probably been going south almost since it started, right? But anyway, next is they will flood you with emails or demands or texts, or they'll show up at your house, or they will like push themselves on you, push an agreement on you, push themselves, whatever their demands are. You don't need a lawyer. They're going to try to say that your lawyer is horrible, that your lawyer just wants money, that they're not for you, that they have too much work, or whatever it is. They're going to try to get between you and your lawyer, because your lawyer potentially is now going to have control over you instead of them. So they definitely want to badmouth your lawyer. But they're going to badmouth anybody that they think is going to have control over you other than them. So they're going to really be like flooding you and pushing themselves on you in such a way so that you don't have a chance to breathe. You don't have a chance to think. They're going to make you think that somehow maybe you can work it out, that you don't need money, to spend money on lawyers, that you're being ridiculous, or you're being too rigid and you don't want to be rigid. So, they try to goad you into things. So that's the last one, is just flooding you, lighting you up, trying to like basically envelop you so that you can't breathe and move. Don't fall for it. Once you see these signs, you're going to know, I've seen you. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not falling for that. All right. So yes, you cannot get a narcissist to actually change their personality, but you can get them to change how they will deal and interact with you. And I'm going to give you 6 ways to get them to change in how they deal and interact with you in this video. So stay tuned and watch all the way to the end so that you can see what I mean. What I mean is they've been conditioning you from the beginning. You have been dealing with them. They've been love bombing you. Now, this is whether you're in a romantic relationship, a business relationship, even a family relationship. Even if you've known them forever, they condition you. They expect you to act in a certain way. So what you have to do is condition them back. You have to let them know, hey, this ain't how it's going to go anymore. There's a new game in town. Things are changing. Things are shifting. And the way that we've had a paradigm, the way things have gone before, ain't the way it's going to be anymore. So you're going to have to change. And so you're basically reconditioning them back. And the way I explain it, and the way I want you to understand this, is that it's the same as if you are dealing with a toddler. The same as if you're dealing with a 2-year-old who's having a tantrum. When 2-year-olds have tantrums and they're conditioning their parents, basically, the parents see the 2-year-old having a tantrum on the floor, right? And so for those of you who've had 2-year-olds, you know what I mean. What happens is the 2-year-old wants something. Let's say it's a bottle. And the 2-year-old is saying, I want that bottle. And the parents are going, nope, you don't get the bottle anymore. You have to use the sippy cup or whatever it is. The 2-year-old's like, I want the bottle. And so what happens is if the parents give in to that tantrum, then the next time the 2-year-old just goes, you know what? It worked last time. So next time I'm just going to scream louder. I'm just going to scream longer. I'm going to kick my heels. I'm going to flail my arms. I'm going to throw things. I'm going to become even more horrible. I'm going to make their lives miserable. I'm going to embarrass them in stores, whatever it is I need to do so that they will have to give in to me because I want that bottle. I want what I want right now. And then the parents go, oh my God, I can't take this. There's the bottle. And that's what's going on with narcissists. So until like those parents just go, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore. The kid goes, you know what, apparently they're not giving in. I'm going to have to just give up on this. I'll just have to behave. I'll just have to, deal with it, take the sippy cup, and they finally just give up. But guess what? They're the worst right before they decide to give up. And that's what it is with narcissists as well. So you're basically, doing the same thing. You're reconditioning them. Do they change inherently? No, because they're not actually 2-year-olds. They're actually adults. But you are conditioning them to let them know there's a new game in town. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you these tips to let you know how to recondition them. Are you going to change them into loving people who have empathy, who now know how to care for people and become amazing human beings who no, you're not actually changing the narcissist spots, but you're changing them into how they will, treat you, respect you, or they're going to just get out of your life. All right. So here's what you're going to do. I'm going to give you 6 tips. Got it? Number 1, you're going to understand narcissism. You are going to start really getting into, that's why you're watching this channel. That's why you're reading the books. That's why you are getting all the knowledge that you possibly can, because honestly, the more you understand, the more you dig in, the more you really start powerfully understanding everything you can about narcissism, the different types of narcissism, the traits of narcissism, the traits of people that they target, you start to realize, hey, this ain't me. This is them. I can't take this personally. This is something that's, happens to people when they were young. And you start to realize, wow, this is something that, took place. And by the way, as I say all the time, narcissists didn't attach themselves to you because you had so little value. They attached themselves to you because you had so much value. They like sources of supply that have a lot of value. That's why they liked you in the first place, even though they gaslit you into believing you had no value. Understand narcissism. That's number 1. Number 2, set those boundaries. I always say, step 1, don't run. Set boundaries. Obviously get away from them, but you're not running away. You're setting boundaries. The more you have fear, the more they smell it in the water. They're like sharks looking for that blood. And once they see that blood, they go for that. They go for that jugular. They know how to instill that in you. Set boundaries and stick to those boundaries. And then number 3 is, don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid to confront them. Don't be afraid of them. They respect people who aren't afraid of them. That's the only type of person that they actually respect. You can't have fear. I started to allude to that earlier, but as soon as you have fear, they read that, and then that gives them supply. Your fear actually feeds that. They get off on that, they get a high on that. That keeps them around, that keeps them coming back. They enjoy that. Most people don't want people to be afraid of them. That doesn't give them joy. It gives them joy. You don't want that. And the more you can say, I'm not afraid of this person. They're just a small little, they're actually more afraid of you than you are of them. And the more you can see that, the more you can uncover that, the more you peel back those onion layers and see that, the more you will understand that. So no fear. And I want you to put that in the comments right now. No fear. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid to confront them. Don't be afraid to assert yourself, assert what's fair, assert what's best for you. Number 4 is related to that, and that is hold them accountable. Hold them accountable for their behavior. If you're in litigation and they don't do something that they're supposed to do, they don't provide discovery that they're supposed to provide, file a motion to compel, they violate a court order, file a motion, let the court know, make the court enforce that court order, ask for sanctions if you need to, if that's something that's available for that. Ask for attorney's fees if you can. Whatever you can do it. Don't sit by and go, well, I don't want to be the bad guy. I don't want to, hurt them. The more you do that, the more they get away with things, and you're not holding them accountable. And then they think that they are, still have some kind of power over you, some kind of control over you, and that's not okay. That's number 4. Number 5 is reward positive behavior. When they act the way you want them to, recognize that. Say, great job, or I'm glad you're using the parenting app like you're supposed to, or whatever it is that they're supposed to do. They do like their ego stroked, so if you fluff up their ego, it's a good thing. I know you don't want to do it, I know you don't enjoy those kinds of things, but, I always say fluff for favor, vomit later, because it helps you to ethically manipulate the manipulator, and it helps you to get some things that you want down the road. If, don't do it just to do it to get some things that you want, right? So reward positive behavior if it's going to help you. And then number 6 is the final thing, and that is to totally ignore when they are trying to bait you. This is so important. Probably the most important. This is something they totally get off on, is trying to bait you. And they will try to do this constantly in a myriad of different ways, probably infinite ways, thousands and thousands and thousands of ways. It will go on and on forever, as long as you allow it to. I can't even name the number of different ways that they will continue to try to bait you. But, and depending on the type of narcissist you're dealing with, the way they bait is also infinite as well. But, they will constantly try to bait you. The more you can find yourself ignoring it, rising above, smiling through it, the better it will be for you. because, that gives them narcissistic supply. It also gives them things that they can use against you as well. The more you react to it, remember, everything you put your hand to is a potential trial exhibit as well. So make sure that you don't give them any kind of things that they can use against you either, by the way. That doesn't help you at all. I know it's really hard. I know it's extremely difficult, especially, if you've been traumatized by them for years and years and years. Definitely get the help and support that you need. Okay, so those narcissists, they love to threaten you. That's one of the ways that they love to control you. It's one of the ways that they get narcissistic supply. They want to make sure that they keep their grip over you, so they threaten you all the time. They want you to be scared. They want you to be shaking in your shoes. They want you to feel intimidated. So what are the kinds of things that they say to make you feel threatened? So number one is threatening to divorce you or leave you. They'll say, I'm out of here. You'll never see me again. If you do this, you'll never see me again. If you do that, I'm gone. And I'm never coming back. So make sure you never do that again, and that kind of thing. So that's definitely number one. The second thing that they'll threaten often, sometimes, is to cheat on you. If you don't give me sex, I'll get it from somewhere else. And they definitely use sex as a way of controlling you. And if you want to know more about that, I have a 3-part video series on that, on narcissism and sex and several others. So we'll definitely put links to all of those below as well. But they'll say things like, I'll get love from somewhere else, I'll get validation from somewhere else, I'll get attention from somewhere else. If you don't give this to me, I will definitely get it from someone else. So that's number 2. Number 3 is threatening to kill themselves or hurt themselves. And unfortunately, sometimes that can be something that they go through with, which I want you to know right away that that is not you and that is not your responsibility, and you should not feel responsible for that. But most of the time, 99.9% of the time, it is just them threatening because they don't want you to leave them, or they don't want you to be doing whatever it is that you're doing. So they want to control you, and they want you to either stop calling them out on something. Maybe it's a way to deflect. Maybe it's a way for them to become a victim. Covert narcissists are really big on being victims. A lot of times, if you want to know more about the covert passive-aggressive narcissists, definitely check out my video on that. But, they will oftentimes threaten to kill themselves or hurt themselves if they want to figure out a way to control you. Don't leave you, don't say the things that you're saying, that sort of thing. So that's number 3. The 4th thing that they will often threaten is to air your dirty laundry to your family or friends or employers or neighbors or whoever. So if you have something that you don't want the world to know, like say, one of your mother was an alcoholic, or you have a sexually transmitted disease, or there's some kind of secret that you have that you really don't want other people to know. Once they find that out about you, then they might threaten to air that dirty laundry out to everybody in the world. So charming, aren't they? And if you think that that is so sick and so not charming, give me a so not charming in the comments right now. The next one is threatening to make your life a living hell. They're going to say things like, you can't escape me. Or they threaten to drag the court case out. I've definitely seen that before. I've heard them say things like that you're going to spend all your money, especially if they have the ability to outspend you. I'll make sure that you don't have any money left for attorney's fees. Just threatening to make your life a living hell. They will maybe threaten to use the court system as a sword or something like that. So that's another one of their threats. The next one is threatening to stalk you, or threatening to continue to cause harm in your life, making sure that they know that they'll always be watching you, or you'll never escape them. As part of making your life a living hell, one of the things that they'll continue to say to you is they'll either never leave you alone, they'll continue to cause harm in your life, even after you're no longer together, or, you know, if it's a business relationship, if you're no longer in business, that they want you to feel like either you're always going to have to be looking over your shoulder to see what they're going to be doing. The next one is threatening to cut you off financially. So they will threaten to cut up your credit cards, threaten to close bank accounts, threaten to ruin you financially if it's a business situation, making sure that you won't receive the value that you're supposed to have, that they will maybe run the business into the ground or something like that. In divorce, I've often referred to the moneyed spouse. They always have what we call SIDS, which is sudden income deficiency syndrome. You know, all moneyed spouses are going through a horrible time in their business at the time of a divorce. So threatening to cause financial harm to you is another one of their special threats. Another threat is to, I'm never speaking to you ever again, or I will never speak to you ever again. So if you do this, if you go through with this, I'll never speak to you again. If you don't do this, then I'm never speaking to you again. So that's another one of their special little threats. Another one is they threaten to turn people against you. So they threaten to say that all the neighbors are going to know, your boss is going to know, your employees are going to know, everybody's going to know about you. They're going to know how horrible you are, what a liar you are, what a narcissist you are maybe, because, you know, you're the narcissist, of course, if you call them that. They start into this whole smear campaign, right? They're trying to line up their flying monkeys. They want to start that smear campaign. And if you want to know, by the way, how to shut down a narcissist smear campaign, make sure you check out that video, the video that I have on that topic. Okay, so the next one is threatening to call the police. You know, they often say that, especially if they want to pin something on you. They want you to be falsely accused of domestic violence. They want you to be falsely accused of theft or something like that. So they'll threaten to call the police so that you're so scared that the police are going to come, arrest you, you're going to spend time in jail, or something like that. So that's another one that they will do. The next threat is threatening to take your children away. That is a biggie, especially in divorce, that you'll never see your kids again. I'm going to take full custody, or you're going to have supervised custody, or your kids are never going to want to talk to you again. They get involved with, you know, a lot of narcissists engage in parental alienation tactics, things like that. So that's definitely another one that you see, especially in a divorce setting. So those are obviously just a few of the major threats that narcissists use. There's probably a million others for every narcissist. There's thousands of threats that they use probably on a daily basis. Okay, so let's talk covert narcissists. What's the difference between them and a regular narcissist? So they are every bit 100% narcissists. They are the same fragile little ego inside, the same super insecure person that's deep inside there, but they look a little bit different because they're not in your face the way regular overt narcissists are. They come across as a little bit more passive, a little bit more quiet, so that on the surface, you don't actually even notice that they're narcissists at all in the beginning. You know, as a typical narcissist, you think is a person who is telling everybody how great they are all the time. The covert narcissist does not do that. However, because they don't do that, and because you can't see it right off the bat on the surface, they're actually way more insidious and way more toxic than overt narcissists are. Okay, so another trait of a covert narcissist is that they come across as shy and actually even reserved. They actually probably are prone to bouts of depression. They may even tell you that they have bouts of depression. So, you know, on the surface, they're going to seem to be like maybe they're just nice people. Maybe they might just be more fragile, something like that, because being a victim is very much part of the covert narcissist plan to get people into their lair. Okay, the third thing that you'll see with covert narcissists is they seem to be helpful in the beginning. So they'll actually lure you in with things that they know that you want so that they can appear to be super helpful, but they really just want to use you. So as once you're into their lair, then they start with the passive aggressive. They start to drip on you like the Chinese water torch, or I'm half Chinese, I could say that, in your on your forehead, kind of a thing. Like, and you start to think, am I crazy? Because the rest of the world sees this person as being so nice, but you kind of know that something is not right. They're doing all these little things behind your back, and they're very, very good at disguising it in such a way that if you tell somebody about it, the person's going to go, well, that doesn't sound so bad. But that it's like this drip, drip, drip thing that they're doing to try to make you crazy. They lure you in with, I'm going to help you with this. And then they start with passive aggressive little things to try to make you crazy. Okay, and the next trait of a covert narcissist is that they often like to play the victim, or maybe they're very sickly, or they often have health issues or something like that, because they constantly need to be the center of attention. So they come up with ways that they can constantly be the center of attention. And then the last thing is that they will not have any sense of empathy for another person. They can feign empathy, but they know when they have to apologize, just to apologize for the surface, but they really don't actually have any empathy for the other person, because they actually are narcissists, and narcissists don't feel anything for anybody but themselves. If this is sounding all too familiar, give me a for sure in the comments. Okay, so this is all well and good, but if you have a covert narcissist in your life, what can you do about it? So the first thing that you can do about it is not to react, especially if you know that this covert narcissist is trying to get under your skin or trying to manipulate you in some way, or they're saying something to try to get a rise out of you. You just say, good for you, or that's great. Don't react, because that's exactly what they want you to do. The second thing that you could do is, if the timing seems right, call them out on their behavior, but do it in a very subtle way. You sort of play their game. Oh, I'm surprised to see that you're here today. You said you were sick yesterday, something like that. But you say it without emotion. You don't say it with smugness. You just say it so that they subtly know that you're calling them out on their behavior, but you are not bothered by it. They're not getting a rise out of you. You're just noticing it. So the third thing that you can do is, do not, and I repeat, do not let them know that they are getting to you. You do not show any emotion. You do not show that anything that they're doing has manipulated you in any way, because that is exactly what they want. And if they get that, then they're going to do more of it. So this is a subtle way to start shutting down this behavior. It's kind of like a behavior modification program for narcissists. You don't give them what they want. So don't react, because if you do, then that's what they want. Okay, the fourth thing that you can do is kind of similar to the others, but this is specific to gaslighting, because this is something that narcissists will do often, and especially covert narcissists too. They're going to try to gaslight you. So they try to make you think that you're crazy. So years ago, there was a movie, I think it was actually called Gaslight or something, and this husband was actually abusing the wife through trying to make her seem like she was crazy. And he would blow out these gas lights, and then she would say, wasn't that just lit? And he would say, no, it wasn't. And that's what gaslighting is. It's just like the subtle little thing to try to make you think that you're crazy. So basically it's like, we talked about that. You said that it was okay. Oh, we had a conversation. I'm sorry, there was a misunderstanding on your part, and you know that there was no misunderstanding, or maybe that there was no conversation ever at all. So don't let them gaslight you that way. Just say, no, there was never that conversation. No, we didn't have that conversation. Or no, there was no misunderstanding. This is what we talked about. Something like that. Remain firm. Don't allow them to manipulate you into thinking that you're crazy. Okay, number 5 is keep your barriers really strong. One of the things that narcissists do, because they've got this mantra that I will not be ignored, is they don't respect boundaries. So they'll come right into your room, they'll read your mail, they will go places that they're not supposed to be or whatever, and they act like, oh, here I am bringing you something nice, or I'm doing something nice for you. So I'm not respecting your boundaries, but you're going to forgive me because I'm being nice about it, something like that. Don't allow them to not respect your boundaries. Have super strong barriers, super strong barriers. That's the only way you're going to be able to manage their behavior and also keep your own sanity. And the other thing that you can do is to slowly close down the barriers of communication. And what I mean by this is, if you have a narcissist in your life, or a covert narcissist, if the most thing that you can do for yourself is get them out of your life. Okay. And I've recently had to do that with people in my business arena. And because I've had some covert narcissists in my life in the business arena, and I've had to deal with that, and it was extremely difficult, and it's painful because it's sort of a betrayal in a lot of ways, right? But you just have to understand and have compassion for the fact that they're broken people, and that they have deep insecurities and problems, but that doesn't mean they have to be in your space. So if I were you, I would try to slowly shut down those barriers of communication and slowly start to wean them out of your space if you can. All right, so let's learn about narcissists in this video and how they teach you about who they are from their body language. So, did you know that what we say is actually only 7% of our communication? That's right. Tone of voice. Tone of voice is actually 38% of our communication. And body language, body language is the other 55% of what we actually say. So when we are expressing ourselves, more than half of what we say is coming from our body language. So that means when we are listening or watching narcissists, they're saying a lot from their body language. All right, so I've got 6 telltale signs. So grab your notepad, grab your pen. You are not going to want to miss out on these 6 telltale signs. And I'm going to do them in reverse order from number 6 to number 1 so that you stay tuned all the way till the end. Ready? Let's go. Number 6. Number 6 is they have trouble making eye contact with people. They don't look up. They don't look at you. They have trouble while they're talking to you actually looking at you. Now, I know that a lot of you are from other cultures. Sometimes this is a cultural thing. So you do have to take into account different cultures. Sometimes it's actually disrespectful to look at people in the eye, depending on the culture that they're in. So do take that into account as well. Sometimes people are fearful of others as well. So you do have to kind of look at this as a whole before all the haters come rushing in. Just make sure that you do understand that you do have to look at this as a whole. Okay. So that's number 6. You ready for number 5? All right. Number 5 is that they're just not interested in new people in general. They just, they kind of disinterested in even meeting new people. And they can't get themselves to get up off the couch. They can't get themselves to come over unless the person can do something for them. Then maybe they're animated, right? They're in a situation where maybe a new person comes into the room, or maybe they come into the room and there's other people there that they haven't met before, and they just really don't want to meet new people unless, maybe they can do something for them. And again, you have to kind of take all of these as a whole, because of course there are people out there that might have social anxiety or, have other issues, right? But this is just kind of taken together. Got it? Okay. So that's number 5. Number 4. Number 4 is much more subtle. Number 4 is just that silent resentment. And I've been there. I have felt this. There's this silent resentment when their target, that person that they're with, that person, it might be your spouse, it might be your business partner, it might be that person, but the one who's like that target, the person that they're dealing with right now, it's probably you who's watching, because you're the one who's watching, is interacting with other people. So you are in a social situation and you're enjoying yourself, and you're feeling that silent resentment. They are so upset with you because you're having fun, because you're talking to other people. They cannot stand the fact that you are interacting with others. You know that later on you're going to pay for it. And this is the kind of thing that they do like at holidays, especially. And by the way, I have a whole video on why narcissists ruin holidays. And if you want to check that out, you can definitely check that out, because, this is like one of the things, and you just kind of feel that underlying sort of seething. And you might get like these little like quips, you might get these little like comments, these little like subtle devaluing, like, oh, why do you got to go do and say that? Or how come you're eating that way? Or why do you look like that? Who are you talking to? Or they don't want to hear about that. There's like these little things that are happening. And so that you feel this silent sort of resentment, going on there. Okay. So that's number 4. You ready for the next one? All right. So the next one is that they're just like closed off, right? They're just closed off, maybe like folded arms, maybe like sitting away from others. Maybe they're like facing the door. They're just like disinterested, to show others that, they're not interested in you. I mean, a lot of times, by the way, if you want to know if an agreement is going to stick, you should look to see how somebody is facing, because if they're looking at you but they're facing toward the door, they're not necessarily engaged with you. They might be kind of half out the door. They might be sort of like not really actually committing to whatever it is that they may even be saying that they're committing to. And then down the road, you might find that that agreement didn't actually hold together and didn't actually stick. And you're wondering why, because they said that they would. And that's why, because you didn't read the body language. You didn't know to read the body language that they weren't actually sticking. So if you see that they're closed off, or you see that they're sitting and facing away like that, that might show that they're kind of narcissistic or not actually engaged in the situation. Okay. So that's the next one. And if I'm on track so far and you've seen some of these, give me an on track in the comments below. All right. Next one is, I know you guys have seen this too. I have definitely seen this from narcissistic people. They actually ask you a question, like you're in a social situation, and they say, oh, how did you come to have this happen to you, or how is it going with your business, or whatever. And you start to answer them, and then they don't even listen for your answer. You're halfway through the sentence and they're like off, doing something else, or they see someone else. They don't even say, excuse me. They leave, they start looking at their phone, and they're not engaged. Like, they don't even care enough to hear the rest of what you're saying. And, maybe a better source of supply came along, or whatever. And there you are, you're just sort of like, oh yeah, well, never mind then. That's, another one. Like, they're just kind of like inconsiderate. Especially if a better source of supply comes along. So that's the next one. And if you want to know what number one is, you got to make sure you stick with it. Ready? Ready for number one? Okay. Number one is they often have more of a distance. They keep a distance. They actually have more physical proximity than others do in conversation. And again, sort of like the trouble with making eye contact, you do want to take into account different countries, different cultures, because obviously certain cultures stand closer than others. So you do want to think about that. But if you are in the same culture and you kind of know what the social norms are in your particular culture, narcissistic people do tend to stand a little further away from each other than other people do. So those are some telltale signs of narcissistic body language. You're going to have 7 ways that you can 100% rely on narcissists. There's lots of things that you can rely on narcissists not to do, but what can you 100% rely on them to do? Okay. Number one, you can 100% rly on them to ruin special occasions. And why is that? Why do they love to ruin special occasions? Well, they don't want to see you getting the attention. They hate when you are getting attention or other people are getting attention. I mean, that's just the bottom line. There is a supreme example in the whole Will Smith, Jada situation. I'm telling you, what a better example than right there. Here it was, the pinnacle of his career. He is supposed to get his Oscar, and Chris Rock is there. He's supposed to make jokes about celebrities. That's his job. And, I get that this is my opinion, but, he makes a joke about Jada's bald head. And everybody knows at this point that 2 days before the Oscars, she had made a TikTok video that said, I don't give two craps about this bald head. She said she didn't care about it. Chris Rock says something about the bald head, and everybody's laughing, including Will Smith. And what happens? She gives him the look. If you had read Will Smith's book, you know that he was triggered by that because he didn't protect his mom, or he felt like he was supposed to have protected his mom when he was 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. And his father, he had beaten his mom when he was a kid, and he felt like he should have been able to protect her. And so when Jada gave him the look, he was triggered by that. And so there he goes, and he goes up there and he does this thing, and she ruins that special occasion for him. But I've done other videos on YouTube about that, why narcissists love to ruin holidays. I highly encourage you to check those out. Why do narcissists love to ruin holidays? Why do they love to ruin your birthday? Because they can't stand for other people to be getting that attention. They just absolutely drives them crazy because other people are taking that supply away from them. So you can 100% rely on a narcissist to ruin special occasions. That's number one. Number two, the next thing that you can 100% rely on a narcissist to do is treat strangers better than you. You can 100% rely on that because it's that face, right? That outward thing, where they are 100% want to look better than to the outside world. That's that diamond level supply that I talk about. That is more important to them than what's going on inside because, they don't have that internal sense of value. So they're constantly trying to feed their emptiness inside and trying to feed it from external sources is better than internal sources. And so, because they already have you right there. And they can treat you poorly, degrading you, debasing you, and controlling you. And they get a sense of supply from that as well. So that's another form of supply that they're already getting from you. So by adulate them, like in other words, they want the strangers to give them adulation and compliments and that sort of thing. And if they can get that from the strangers, oh, you're so wonderful, you're so amazing, all that sort of thing, well, then that's even better from their perspective. So that's why they treat strangers better than you. And so you can definitely 100% rely on that. They want strangers to think that they're wonderful. They're basically love bombing the strangers all the time. So you can 100% rely on that. So the number three thing that you can 100% rely on a narcissist to do is project and deflect. They will always project and deflect, meaning they're not going to take responsibility. So, even if you for sure show like you were supposed to do this thing, or, I used to have people who would work for me or whatever, and they were supposed to complete a task or whatever. Oh, it was always somebody else. It was somebody else's fault. It was always something happened or whatever. They can never, ever, ever take responsibility, project and deflect it, or it's your fault. If you had just been better, or if this had just happened or whatever, they can never, ever, ever take responsibility. And part of that is because they don't have any sense of self-worth. They don't have any sense of value. And so if they have to take responsibility, then somehow it takes away from them. So that's number three. Number four is what I call lying and denying. It's very closely related to projecting and deflecting, but it's a little bit different. And that is that, they will always lie and deny. And so again, even if you present like complete a text message or obvious evidence that says you did this thing, you said this thing. No, didn't happen. Nope. Lying and denying. They will absolutely lie right to your face. And hey, that becomes great leverage, by the way. If you end up having to litigate against them, you end up having a case with them. That's how you build your case. That's how you start building your summaries. That's how you start building your leverage, which is what I teach you guys. And if you want to know more about what happens when you catch a narcissist in a lie, definitely have a YouTube video on that. Highly encourage you guys to check that out. And if you agree with me so far, highly encourage you, write amen in the comments here, because you know that what I'm saying is true so far, right? I know you guys have seen this. So, 100% you can rely on a narcissist to do these things so far, right? All right. So the number five thing that you can 100% rely on a narcissist to do is gaslight. All narcissists gaslight. Whether you're dealing with a covert narcissist, a grandiose narcissist, a malignant narcissist, whatever supreme kind of narcissist you're dealing with, you can 100% rely on a narcissist to gaslight. They all gaslight. So What is gaslighting? Gaslighting is when they're trying to make you think you're crazy. I mean, they literally are trying to basically say that what you're seeing with your eyes, what you're hearing with your ears, what you're experiencing with your senses is not true, is not happening, is not what you're experiencing. And it literally eventually makes you think that you're crazy. I mean, I've been honest and candid with you guys in the sense that I have dealt with narcissists in my own life, not just in my law practice, which obviously I've seen a ton of them in my law practice as well, but I've had to deal with a couple of covert narcissists in my personal life. I had one as a business partner. My husband and I had one in our family. And, you know, I've personally had to deal with gaslighting, and it's really just insane when you're experiencing this gaslighting, when you know you've had a conversation with somebody and they literally come back and say, oh, we talked about that, don't you remember? And you know you didn't have that conversation, or you know that the conversation was something different than what you talked about. It's crazy. Or when they're presenting something that's completely different. I've actually seen it in court. I've actually seen lawyers who will say, this is what the court order said, and the court order says something completely different. And even when presented with what the court order actually says, they'll say, well, I know that's what it says, but that's not what it says. And trying to convince the judge that it says something different, even though in black and white, it'll say something different, just to try to see if they can get the judge to be convinced. And sometimes the judge will be convinced. I mean, it's pretty powerful, this gaslighting sometimes. So it's a scary kind of a tactic when somebody can be that influential, and especially when they're working on that person all the time. It's a tactic to destabilize you. It's a control tactic, and they've used it daily, day in and day out over time and over years. It can definitely be very, very effective. So that's number 5, and that's gaslighting. So number 6 of the 7 things that you can 100% rely on a narcissist to do is love bombing. And I also include in here, this number 6, future faking, narcissist faux apologies. You know, some people say apologies. I call them faux apologies, FAOU, because they're fake apologies, which they use when they're needed. It's all a manipulation. Everything is a manipulation. Everything they do say, every time they try to love bomb you, it's a manipulation. Every time they try to future fake you, it's a manipulation. It's all a game. It's all meant to manipulate you. It's all an attempt to manipulate you. And this I insert here at number 6 for a reason. The reason why I'm inserting it here at number 6, right before number 7, which I haven't gotten to number 7 yet, and you need to stay until I get to number 7 for a reason, is because this is where you're like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. I'm out of here. You're plotting and planning to get the heck out of there. And if you're in a romantic relationship, you're packing your suitcase, maybe you visited the divorce attorney. If you're in a business relationship, you're finally like, okay, how do I get out of this thing? And now they come back. Now they start to realize, oh, they're leaving. My supply is walking out the door. So they start to love bomb you again. Now they start to future fake you. Now they start to apologize because they don't want their supply source to leave. Oh, things will be better. Or they start to do the things that they were supposed to do in the first place. This is what I saw in my business relationship with the person that I was in the relationship with. All of a sudden, the person started doing all the things that she was supposed to do before. You know, she started completing all the tasks that she said that she was going to do and then never had done. For me, Personally, I was like annoyed because I thought, oh, so you did know that what you were supposed to do, you just weren't doing it. So that for me, that wasn't helpful. But for other people, who are in an intimate relationship, they could get sucked back in, and oftentimes very much are, because they hear what they wanted to hear, especially if you've invested a lot of time, you have children, maybe financially you're tied. This is where they're really, really good at saying exactly what they need to say in order to charm that person back into the fold. So 100% you can rely on a narcissist to get that person back, because they don't want to see their supply source gone. Not that they love you. Don't confuse number 6, the love bombing, the future faking, or the faux apology with love. And it can be very, very confusing. Don't confuse this with they actually have affection for you, they love you, they want you, or anything like that. This is definitely a manipulation. All right, number 7, we made it to number 7. Number 7 is you can 100% rely on them to drain the life out of you, because they are sucking all of that energy from you. They are energy vampires. Before I knew these terms, I used to say that, when I was dealing with a narcissist, I used to say it was like a leech. I didn't know why I felt that way, but I felt that way. I mean, you can 100% rely, because it is a black hole. That need for supply that they have, it can never be filled. You are expected to try to fill it, but you can never fill it. And so that's number 7, is you can 100% rely on them to drain the life out of you. And you will end up feeling completely depleted, completely drained. And you're going to end up feeling like your soul is sucked. What are the types of insults that you hear in a narcissistic relationship? All right, so I'm going to give you a whole bunch of them, and I'm going to save the best one till the end. Like, I'm going to give you 9 of them. So number one is, who else would love you the way that I would? Or who else would want you? And it's like so backhanded. They tell you they love you, and they start off with love bombing, and they start off with how wonderful you are and how amazing you are, and you're so gorgeous and handsome or sexy or fantastic. Even in a business relationship, because I was in a business relationship with a narcissist, and they start off like where you're just the most charming, sexy, amazing, wonderful, la, 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 la. And then they start insulting you. They start devaluing you. They start saying like, no one else thinks that you're amazing. Nobody else would love you the way I would. Who else would want you? So they start like isolating you in that way. So that's number 1. It's like sort of backhanded thing. It's like, I love you, but no one else would. All right. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, don't say anything to embarrass me. So you're like walking into a party, you're walking into a function, and you're like all happy, you're fine, life is good. And then all of a sudden they say this thing like, don't say anything to embarrass me. Why would I say anything to embarrass you? Maybe they think you're stupid. Maybe they think that you don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, they say, don't say anything to embarrass me. So like now you're like worried about what it is that's going to come out of your mouth, because you're afraid that you're going to say something to embarrass them. Maybe you're going to a work function with them or something like that, and you're worried that you're going to say something that might embarrass them. So that's number 2. Number 3 is they'll say, you have no idea what you're talking about. Or they might just out and out, just flat out say that you're stupid, or that you're an idiot. They either will say that you have no idea what you're talking about, or that you're just flat out stupid. And so that's the next one. And then the next one is that you're just worthless. They'll say this in a number of different ways, like that you're just terrible with money, or that you're a terrible driver, or that you're just worthless when it comes to doing something, or that you're horrible at cleaning. They'll tell you that you're worthless, but they may not come right out and say it in that specific way. But in so many ways, you get the sense that they think that you're worthless. So that's number 4. Similarly, I have a video on the narcissist's favorite catchphrases, which you could definitely check out. And, that's another one of my videos. And I do want you to put a mantra in the comments below, which is, I will not listen to their lies, because this is all a bunch of lies. And I want you to understand that this is just a bunch of their projection and deflection. They are projecting their own sense of no self-worth onto you. They are very empty inside, and people treat other people the way they feel about themselves. Hurt people. They have no sense of self. They have no sense of self-worth. And so they are projecting this bunch of crap onto you. And so I do want you to understand that the reason why they are emotionally abusive, which is what this is because they are hurting inside. So don't take this on. All right. So we're only halfway through, but I do want to stop and just say this, because don't take this on. This has nothing to do with you. This only has to do with them. All right. So number 5 is that other person is more attractive, thinner, smarter, younger looking, whatever. So they'll compare you to somebody else and make you feel like less because that other person looks better than you in some way. All right. They'll just make a comment about how you look less good than somebody else. So that's number 5. Number 6 is something about your family. They'll say, your family is stupid, your family is trash, your family is messed up in some way, your family is bipolar, your family has issues, your family is dysfunctional, uneducated, horrible, whatever, a bunch of degenerates, losers. They'll say things about your family because a lot of times they were trying to actually isolate you from your family. So they'll say things about your family. Maybe they'll call your family a bunch of narcissists. Your family hates you. Your family is awful, that sort of thing. So that's the next one. Number 7 is, I never loved you. I never loved you. I never cared about you. I was just using you. That's a really hurtful one now, isn't it? The truth of the matter is they don't have the ability to even love themselves. So again, you can't take this stuff personally. It's so hurtful. They can be so hurtful. And they may even say something like, I was never attracted to you. I never wanted you. They can be so awful, but they may say something like that too. Number 8, they may say something like, if you had shown me enough attention sexually, if you had shown me enough care, love, whatever, then I wouldn't have cheated on you. In other words, I cheated on you because you made me, because you didn't give me enough sex, because you didn't give me enough physical attention, something like that. And they blame you for the fact that they went out and cheated. Definitely seen this a lot as a divorce attorney. Just don't allow them to put that on you. And the other one that's actually very similar to this is that you caused me to be an addict. Your behavior caused me to become a drug addict, an alcoholic, or something like that. Don't allow them to put that on you. And the last one is your career is a joke. You don't make enough money, you are inadequate, you're a horrible provider, all that sort of thing. And this is especially horrible for men, by the way. It's a much worse insult for men. I've definitely seen that. It definitely can erode at the marriage. And, when you're not respected in the relationship, it's horrible. And I always say there's the 3 A's that erode at the marriage: abuse, addiction, and adultery. And when you have even one of these, then you can't stay married to a person usually, because it just erodes away at the foundation of a relationship. And abuse, even if it's emotional abuse, is abuse. And when you're married to a narcissist, it's constant abuse. So let's talk about future faking. So, the word integrity, doing what you say you're going to do, well, that doesn't really apply to narcissists. And in fact, if you keep allowing narcissists to continue to promise you the world, and then you realize it's not materializing, you're actually enabling their behavior, which of course is not something that we necessarily want to do, because we want to maybe hopefully get out of these relationships with these narcissists. So what happens with narcissists is part of the love bombing process, which is how they get you into these relationships in the first place, is just kind of promising you the world. The whole concept of over promise or under deliver, or under promise and over deliver, that you're supposed to do in sales. They kind of do the over promise and under deliver. That's basically what future faking is. They say whatever they need to about what your future might be in order to get you to do what they want you to do, or get you to get off of what it is that you're bothering them about. Or even in the beginning of the relationship, when they're in the love bomb stage, which they do love bomb all throughout the relationship when they need to, by the way. And if you want to know more about love bombing, you should definitely check out my video on love bombing. But one of the 101 conversation that, the glossary of basic narcissistic terms is that you need to know about is what we call this future faking. And I have a whole bunch more videos on the 101 basic terms on narcissism, and you should definitely check out some of those as well, especially, gaslighting and flying monkeys and narcissistic injury and supply and things like that. And all of those videos are also on my channel. So, but what happens with narcissists is they want you to do what they want you to do, which is give them an endless amount of narcissistic supply. So narcissistic supply is anything that feeds their ego. So it can be giving them tons of compliments and adulation and respect, or maybe it's giving them money, or maybe it's giving them a place to live, or maybe it's, um, giving them the prestige of being with you, or allowing you them a life that they want, something like that. But they also get supply from, manipulating you and lying to you, and getting you to do things that they want you to do, and devaluing you and putting you down, and making that that you are lesser to them, just even in little small ways, sometimes like not remembering to do something that you asked them to do, or something like that. But with future faking is a way of getting you to believe that, okay, even though you're not getting what you want from them now, that you will get it from them at some other time. So down the road, you're going to have this amazing life together, or starting now, they're going to be so much better. I was just talking to a client whose husband was, looking at other women online and doing all of these things, and she almost left him. And he said, I will never, never, never do that again. In fact, I will get rid of all my social media pages. I'll do whatever I need to do in order to keep you, in order for you to stay with me. Don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me. And so all this future promise of how life would look, and then they stick to it for a little bit of a period of time, but then they really can't maintain that because they really didn't plan to keep their promise anyway. So they stick to it for a little bit of a period of time, and then of course they fall off the map and they don't end up continuing with whatever it was they said they were going to do. And in this particular case, that husband, of course, continued to maintain relationships with women online because he just thought that he would be able to get away with it. Because, you know, the reason why he continues to do that is because of that whoring that they need to do of getting as much narcissistic supply as they possibly can. So he didn't really plan to ever get rid of these other women online. He just wanted to future fake it with the wife to say, I will do this, and in the future things will be better, and look, I'm going to be the person that you always wanted me to be, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just empty promises, empty promises. That's basically what future faking is a bunch of empty promises. And if this is sounding familiar to you, give me an amen in the comments. So how do you know if you're enabling future faking? It's by making excuses for this person. And sometimes we do that in order to kind of protect ourselves because we don't want to believe that this person is bad. And so sometimes we'll find ourselves making excuses. Like, let's say somebody said that they're going to start coming home on time. You know, that this person is always late, and they said, okay, from now on, I'm going to start coming home on time. And so now they start saying things like, you know, I can't make it. I have to work late. Traffic is bad. I have a big project going on. And so you find yourself kind of making excuses for that person, like, well, they have a lot of work commitments, or, well, reliability isn't really their strong suit, or punctuality isn't really their strong suit. It never really has been. And so you start making excuses for that person. Another type of way that we sort of enable it is by saying something like, I know his or her heart is in the right place. And you know, a lot of times we do this really because we don't want to believe that this person that we've been with or spent so much time with, it can be bad, you know, and a lot of times it's not all bad. I mean, that's the thing with narcissists, because of the love bomb stage, sometimes things are actually not all bad. Sometimes they seem like they can be really good, and we spend like the entire relationship craving, wanting that goodness to come back, wanting to see that good part of that person. And so sometimes we make excuses by saying, hey, I know that the person's heart is in the right place, even though they're not doing what they say they're going to do. Another way that we enable it is to just say, you know what, I've just decided I'm going to live with that. I know that they're never going to do what they say they're going to do. So I just assume that I'm going to be responsible. So let's just say that this person says, you know, I know you've been shouldering a lot of the housework. I know we both work all the time, and you do everything at home. I'll take on doing the laundry. And maybe the person does the laundry for like a week or two, and then, you know, there it is, the laundry's piling up. So instead of wanting to start an argument, you find yourself saying, you know what, I'll just go ahead and do it. I'll just assume that, you know, it's all my responsibility. And if the other person decides to do it, well, that's a bonus, but I'm not going to expect it. I just expect that they're not going to keep their word. That also enables the narcissist. The other thing that enables it is just not bringing it up at all, not reminding them what their promise was. And a lot of times when you're dealing with a narcissist, you don't want to remind them what their promise was, because if you do, it can end up being a big, huge fight. And if you know that that's the case, then you're probably with a narcissist, because, you know, a person who's not a narcissist, who wants a relationship to work, who actually has care and empathy for the other person, would be like, oh my God, you're right. I'm so sorry. I said that I would do that and I didn't do that. That's what a person who has integrity would do. But a narcissist wants to deflect. They want to project. They want to make sure that it's your fault. You know, if you are afraid to bring it up because you know that they're going to say, you're right, I didn't do that. It's because it's your fault. I'm sorry you didn't do what you said you were going to do. You know, that whole faux apology. If you want to know more about narcissists, faux apology, and whether or not they say sorry, check out my video on do narcissists say sorry? And if they do they mean it? But you know, a lot of times that's what you're going to get. And so if you find yourself just not bringing it up at all, it's probably because you just don't want the backlash of whatever that's going to be. So, you know, they future faked. They said they were going to do something. They didn't do it. And you just find yourself saying, and you know what, I'm not going to bring it up. It's not even worth it. So if you find yourself harboring a ton of resentment, because who harbors more resentment about the future faking that didn't happen? Do you think it's the narcissist, or do you think it's the person who was the victim of the narcissist? I guarantee you it's the person who's been the victim, because you just sit there and you go, okay, well, this person is not delivering on their promises. They're not keeping their promises to me. I either I bring it up and I deal with the wrath, or I don't bring it up and then I still end up not getting what it is that I wanted. And so you end up carrying this sadness and this resentment, and it actually turns into feeling terrible about yourself and feeling guilty that you want something because that's what they want you to feel. And or you end up having like no self-esteem or no sense of self, and you end up feeling like you're just a shell of yourself because of this these empty promises that just keep not materializing. Because, you know, obviously you start to think, I guess I'm just not worth having these promises be delivered on. You know, I guess I'm not worth this person doing what they say they're going to do, where it's actually the opposite. The other person just has no sense of self and no sense of self-worth and no sense of value. So they try to put everybody down and make it look like that they're better than everybody else. And so it's the great game of manipulation. It's just one form of manipulation that they use to get people to do what they want them to do. So in the end, future faking is really a classic sign of narcissism. And if you are seeing this, then you are probably in a relationship with a narcissist, unfortunately.